What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Monday, March 31st, 2025, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now it is 16:30 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from the Middle East. So in case you missed the big news yesterday, Trump threatened to severely bomb Iran if they don't come to the negotiating table with their nuclear program. And this morning, in response to that, Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, said that the U.S. would suffer a heavy blow if it bombed Iran. Okay, so the supreme leader of Iran, the Ayatollah Khamenei, saying that the U.S. would suffer a heavy blow. Now, over the weekend, the Iranians threatened to strike the Gulf of America, which they called the Gulf of Mexico, and they put out a warning to all U.S. bases in the Middle East, including bases in Turkey and other allied nations, that they would potentially be hit by missiles in a retaliatory strike. And the Iranians also threatened to bomb Diego Garcia, or strike it with missiles, where we currently have 7 B-2 stealth bombers sitting on the tarmac waiting for the order from Trump to bomb Iran's nuclear sites. Now, in order to bomb Iran's nuclear sites, they're going to need those stealth bombers because that's the only platform capable of delivering the conventional bunker buster, the massive ordnance penetrator, which can penetrate 200 feet of concrete, and it's equipped with a smart fuse that can sense voids underground and automatically detonate, so it can sense when it penetrates deep enough to reach a bunker or a tunnel, and then it detonates. Okay, and right now, this afternoon, we have a U.S. presidential Doomsday plane up in the air that went from D.C. to Offutt Air Base, which is home of U.S. Strategic Command. This is extremely serious. This means that potentially Trump himself or Hegseth or Vance were moved to Offutt Air Base on a Doomsday plane, and they typically only do that when they're getting ready to launch some kind of an operation, because Strategic Command is the most important command in the U.S. military. It commands everything. Okay, so this could be a sign that these strikes on Iran could happen as soon as tonight or tomorrow. Remember, tomorrow's April Fools. Wouldn't it be funny if Trump launched this strike on Iran on April Fools? And we also had another Doomsday plane airborne as well. It went from Texas to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So 2 presidential Doomsday planes airborne this afternoon. One going from D.C. to Offutt Air Base, which could be a sign that we're getting ready to strike very soon. And also we have 2 B-52 nuclear bombers airborne over Louisiana this afternoon. We also have a lot of aerial refuelers going over the Pacific. Here you can see 4 aerial refuelers, KC-135s, going over Canada and over the Pacific. And there were 3 earlier that went over the Pacific as well. So that's 7 KC-135s going over Canada and the Pacific this afternoon. And so far, I've counted as many as 20 aerial refuelers that have been moved to the Middle East. There's 8 in Diego Garcia. Then they moved 4 KC-46 Pegasuses to Qatar. Then there were several more KC-135s moved to Qatar as well. Now we have all of these going to the Pacific. So it looks like it's about to go down. And the Doomsday plane going from D.C. to Offutt is a huge concern. Here you can see several more aerial refuelers going to Qatar. This was overnight last night. And according to Iran's state media, apparently Iran has put all of their ballistic missiles onto their launchers in their secure underground missile bases and are ready to launch against all U.S. bases in the Middle East, including Diego Garcia. So this could get serious, guys. Now, I reported yesterday that the IRGC flew to Venezuela, and wouldn't it be crazy if they moved some missile systems into the Caribbean and they launched missiles at the continental U.S. from the Caribbean? That would be insane. Also, they could go after our oil fields in Saudi Arabia. They could try to close the Strait of Hormuz. They could attack our bases. They could do all kinds of things. So this could get really serious. And Iran's president stated yesterday morning that the supreme leader of Iran declined Trump's request for direct talks on the nuclear program. And the Iranian General Staff said the Iranian armed forces are ready to defend their land and principles with full strength. And the advisor to the Iranian supreme leader said Americans will force Tehran to build nuclear weapons if they strike Iran. Iran's army put out a statement today saying if the enemies make a strategic mistake and attack the Islamic land of Iran, they will receive a harsh and regrettable response. And we have some unconfirmed reports that a large number of C-17 Globemasters carrying Patriot missiles landed in Bahrain in the past 24 hours to protect the U.S. airbase there from Iranian missile attacks. So a large number of U.S. military cargo planes landing in Bahrain, potentially with Patriot missile batteries on board. And Poland is planning to prepare their entire population for a possible war against Russia, according to the Polish Chief of General Staff. And the commander of Russia's strategic rocket forces was in Belarus over the past few days. Okay, so that's pretty concerning. And we know that Russia is going to be deploying their intermediate range ballistic missile in Belarus, the Oreshnik, with nuclear warheads on it, which is something we haven't seen since the Cold War. This is probably as bad or worse than the Cold War. And according to the defense ministers of the Baltic countries, a ceasefire in Ukraine will sharply increase the security threat to Baltic states. The defense ministers of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia have spoken out against a ceasefire in Ukraine, fearing an increased threat from Russia. They believe that a ceasefire would give Moscow a respite to rearm and redeploy troops to the borders of NATO. Estonian Defense Minister Hanno Pevkur stated that in the event of a ceasefire, Russia would very quickly redistribute forces, significantly increasing the threat level to the region. The Lithuanian Defense Minister added that we should not delude ourselves with illusions. Russia will not stop at Ukraine. And a drone of suspected Russian origin reportedly flew over Italy's Joint Research Center in Ispra near Lake Maggiore 5 times in the past month. The Joint Research Center is operated by the European Commission and is one of 7 research facilities managed directly by the EC. Situated on the shores of Lake Maggiore, the JRC plays a pivotal role in European research and innovation. Wow. So a Russian drone flying over this European Commission research center in Italy. Very concerning. And Trump was apparently angered by Putin's criticism of Zelensky and threatened to place tariffs on Russian oil yesterday. So that's pretty interesting. And Poland and the U.S. will sign an agreement worth $2 billion for the delivery of logistical support for the Patriot air defense system, Poland's defense minister said today. And the European Commission is considering a full shutdown of the EU market to American goods in retaliation to Trump's tariffs on the EU that are going to go into effect in the coming days. So this is huge. Okay, Europe is going to shut down their entire market to American goods. That is crazy. And the Kremlin said today that they have not signed any joint projects with the U.S. to extract minerals in Russia. And they also said that they're working with the U.S. on some ideas regarding the Ukrainian peace deal. And Zelensky's office said that the U.S. proposed mineral deal violates the Ukrainian constitution. Very interesting. And we know that Ukraine sent back the mineral deal to the U.S. to renegotiate some of the terms. And I want to show you guys all this reconnaissance we had in Eastern Europe last night. So we're continuing to see a massive amount of reconnaissance in the Baltics and in Poland. Also, we had a Russian VIP plane fly into Belarus, which is pretty unusual. And then we also had this Swedish recon plane in the Baltic Sea. And we also had a P-8 Poseidon airborne over the Baltic Sea off the coast of Kaliningrad this afternoon. And we also had a British RC-135 patrolling Crimea. We haven't seen that in a long time. Here's a closer look. So here you can see the RC-135 flying parallel to the shores of Crimea, being escorted by a Eurofighter Typhoon. So this could indicate that either Russia is planning to attack Ukraine from Crimea, or Ukraine is planning to strike Crimea soon. We had a lot of German army helicopters flying over Lithuania last night. This is pretty interesting. And we also had a Romanian Air Force plane, a Polish Air Force plane, and an Italian Air Force plane fly to Suwałki, Lithuania. That's not a good sign, most likely carrying generals. So they're all going to Lithuania now. That's pretty interesting. And we also had a Russian Open Skies plane fly down towards Kapustin Yar, which is the location where Russia launched the Oreshnik from at Ukraine last fall. That's a missile testing site, and the Open Skies plane is a missile detecting plane. And there were also several Russian VIP planes that went down to the Caucasus as well. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I wanted to just quickly update you guys and let you know what's going on. We have a presidential Doomsday plane here in the U.S. that just went to Offutt Air Base from Washington, D.C. That's a huge indication that this strike on Iran could be imminent. And the supreme leader of Iran threatened the U.S., saying that the U.S. would suffer a heavy blow if it bombed Iran, okay? So get prepared, guys. All hell could break loose once we strike Iran. It's not going to be a small strike. It's going to be massive, okay? 7 stealth bombers equates to almost 40% of all of our stealth bombers, which are critical to our nuclear triad, okay? You don't move 40% of your stealth bombers for no reason, okay? But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight to give you guys a live update and live coverage, probably around 10 or 11 p.m. Eastern time. And if anything happens sooner, I will go live and cover it live. Make sure you download my app. It's free from the Google Play Store, and the link is in the description below this video. It lets me send out notifications when breaking news is happening, and I can send out alerts. Like, for example, last night there were tornadoes going through Tennessee, and I sent out alerts to people in Tennessee telling them to take shelter, okay? Also consider signing up to my Patreon. For $3 a month, you can watch all of these updates with no ads. Okay, YouTube places ads in videos. If you spend $3 a month, you get access to all of my videos plus extras. And I post these videos first on Patreon before YouTube. So check out my Patreon. The link is in the description as well. And that's patreon.com/NYPrepper. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.